Former President Trump apparently the intended target of a second assassination attempt over the weekend while playing golf at Trump International in West Palm. Joining me to look at the Secret Service response and the protective bubble around former presidents like Donald Trump is three-time Presidential Protective Detail Secret Service agent Ken Valentine, author of the book Cheating Death, which you can find at KennethValentine.com. Ken, it's great to have you back on the Scott Sand Show. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to be on.
So I figured you and I would talk again, but I expected that we would still be talking about the first attempt on Donald Trump's life from back in July. I didn't know we would have a second assassination plot to discuss today.
Well, amen to that. And I certainly hope to be coming on to talk about books and websites and things like that, speeches. But another assassination attempt on President Trump, and here we are again.
So would you consider this, and you and I talked last time back in July about the failures of the Secret Service, would you have considered this a successful protective detail of the president based on the fact that no shots were fired by the would-be assassin?
You know, that's a great question, Scott. I think the outcome was a success because we got him away from there without harm. However, you know, they say close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and maybe in Secret Service protection, because this was too close. You know, the idea of someone with a rifle at the edge of the golf course, protected by a fence, that's just too close. And the fact that this gentleman brought an AK-47 to the course is also troubling because it is such a devastating weapon. But a few more details will bear that out. You know, where is that line between success and failure? They were successful in preventing, and that's what you want. They were not successful in preventing in Butler. So this time they were, but again, close. You know, what? How do you define close versus failure? And is it 60 yards? Is it 600 yards? Is it 1,600 yards? And I'm never going to be satisfied until that's pushed out to, you know, there was no attempt, you know, so that's a tough call.
So when if you're not familiar with guns, if you're not a shooter or a hunter, an AK-47 type weapon is good, is accurate for 200 to 400 yards, even just with iron sights. If you put on a high-powered scope, as apparently there was on this particular rifle, I mean, 400 yards away is a pretty easy shot for somebody who's been practicing or has been using the gun for a while.
I would say that is possible, and you know, I've got a rifle that's much better for a long range shot, and 400 yards is a long shot for me. However, you don't have to be perfect with these things, and you know, an AK-47 shoots a mighty powerful round a very long way, and if it connects and impacts on the target, it's devastating. So you just don't hear about people surviving being shot by AK-47 rounds anywhere in the torso. It's a huge round. It's really the communist country round. It's Russian, Chinese. That's who uses these predominantly. It's a lot of terrorist activity with these because it's cheap and it's easy to use, and it is lethal.
We're talking to former Presidential Protective Detail Secret Service agent Ken Valentine, KennethValentine.com, author of the book Cheating Death. Explain to us how this agent, this advance agent who was going one or two holes ahead of President Trump in his golf party, was able to spot a muzzle through a fence. I mean, if I'm out playing golf, I have trouble finding my ball most of the time in the woods, let alone be able to see a metallic muzzle sticking through a chain link fence.
Yeah, great question, Scott. You know, when we're out playing golf, you're not looking for those kind of things, and it would be quite a day if that's what showed up. But these guys, that's their job. That's what they're out there to do. They're out there looking for that rifle muzzle. They're looking for the glint of a scope or a pair of binoculars that's reflected by sunlight, and so they. You know, unfortunately, it was there, but fortunately, they saw it, they engaged it, and that caused him to flee. It is interesting to me. I'll be interested to see who actually fired on him. If it was a part of a counter surveillance team that was out, you know, trying to flush things out of the woods, and fence lines and things like that? Was it a shift agent that was pushed out pretty far, or was it, part of another team, an intelligence team, or who was that fired rounds, and from what weapon? Because they obviously didn't hit him, but if it was a handgun from 100 yards, that's certainly going to be a little more understandable. If it was a longer gun, then it creates more questions, but a lot of unanswered issues around firing and not hitting what you're shooting at.
Well, and is that Secret Service protocol in a situation like that, where you detect where you sense a danger to the protectee and you fire first? We didn't see that in Butler, Pennsylvania. We saw the shooter get off at least one round before the Secret Service counter sniper team reacted and shot him. In this particular case, the agent apparently fired first. Is that protocol?
There's really not a protocol for that. You're authorized to use that weapon, that deadly force, anytime you deem it necessary to protect yourself or the life of another. And so if they saw that rifle and engaged it and said put it down, and he didn't immediately put it down, then you've got kind of an open card there to dance on that all day long. So certainly what they articulated, at least what's been reported in the press, is that he was pointing the rifle at them. They don't have to really do much of anything except engage back. And it looked to me like he was behind the fence, sticking probably the rifle muzzle through the fence, but he had put up a couple of backpacks either to disguise himself or to kind of hide himself, or they were someone suggested that they were ceramic body armor type plates up there, but haven't heard for certain what that was yet. But no, they're free to engage and to use deadly force when they perceive that their life or the life of another is in danger, and that's apparently what they perceived.
Author of the book Cheating Death, Secret Service Agent Kenneth Valentine, here on the Scott Sands Show. Ken, as you look at the golf course, are you surprised that the Secret Service would even allow the former president to play golf at that particular course that had such easy access to major roads in West Palm Beach? And do you think that's going to change? I mean, I don't know if you can tell your protectee, you can't play golf there anymore, sir, or you can't play golf on holes 4, 5, and 6. What do you look at this, and it seems like such an open area that's hard to protect. And with a small detail, because he's not a sitting president, you got a couple of agents who are maybe 1 or 2 holes ahead. That's not a great bubble to have the protectee in.
Yeah, a lot of questions there. Let me try to pick them apart here. But first and foremost, we're not in the business of telling them what they can't do. We're in the business of protecting them so that they can do what they need to do. And so what they strive to do, what they should be striving to do, is to say, yes, you want to go golfing, you bet. Just give us some time, give us a location, and let's go ensure that you can do that safely, and so that you're not the one looking at the wood line for weapons and for people pointing rifles at you. We'll take care of that. And this particular course, I mean, you add up the fact that it's his course, that he plays it frequently, that they know this course backwards and forwards. They know where the vulnerable spots are. To me, the question now is, did you use all the available assets and resources at your disposal to secure that golf course? And, unfortunately, and I'll just be very transparent here, the fact that he took up a position where he both could get shots off and get away is disconcerting to me. Because that's the exact area where you want to protect. That's where you want a sheriff's deputy cruiser. You want a police presence there. Just take it away from them. Ideally, you take away that avenue of approach that makes you so vulnerable, especially with a weapon that's able to fire long distance.
Dogs, maybe. I haven't heard any reports of canines being used, but there was talk and you and I exchanged some text messages about this yesterday. I've also heard reports today that there may actually, in this particular case, have been a drone involved. So there may be a drone sensed something as well.
Could be, and I've not heard that, and that's certainly a possibility. The local department could have had a drone that they were utilizing. The bad guy could have had a drone as well, but unfortunately, I haven't seen or heard anything about that. The use of technology is going to have to ramp up, and I've said this at other places, but DHS is just not the place where the Secret Service is going to thrive. They have not thrived there since they got moved after 9/11, and they're not in a good position to lead themselves or to innovate at DHS. So I've really been an advocate of getting them back to Treasury, where they should have never been removed, so that they would have enough autonomy to do what they need to do to innovate and get out there. They ought to be on the forefront of drone technology, just like the military is, and using the technology and these assets to their advantage. The interesting thing is the sheriff's department that actually stopped this guy is the sheriff's department that did a test on the base molecular resonance technology that proved that you can detect gunpowder at a long range, 550 feet or something. I mean, that's the department that was part of the validation test that proved that there is technology out there that the Secret Service can be using to do this. But I suspect under DHS they're going to continue to struggle and fight for resources, manpower, and all this stuff that they never had to do at Treasury.
I think you mentioned that on the Trey Gowdy show last night on Fox News Channel, if I remember correctly. We're talking to Ken Valentine, KennethValentine.com. Just quickly explain what the difference would be putting Secret Service back under the Treasury Department as opposed to DHS.
Yeah, well, and that took place right after 9/11 when they stood up the Department of Homeland Security. It seemed like a great idea, and moving us there, we didn't fight